All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're loading up a virtual leaderboard to count down the top 10 most notoriously toxic communities in gaming, according to recent analysis. If you've ever put on a headset, joined a matchmaking queue, and immediately regretted it, you know exactly the kind of environments we're talking about today. We're going to unpack the data, the wild community behaviors, and the specific quirks that make these 10 games the absolute most intense places to hang out online.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with Welcome to the Lobby, move through ranks 10 through 7, then ranks 6 through 4, enter the MOBA danger zone, face the ultimate toxic boss, and wrap things up with Game Over final thoughts.
Section 1. Welcome to the Lobby, the reality of competitive gaming. It's honestly a fascinating phenomenon. We've got these incredible digital worlds built purely for entertainment, right? But man, they so often devolve into high-stress battlegrounds before the match even officially begins. Higher stakes and massive player populations tend to push players into this incredibly bizarre mindset where losing feels like an absolute catastrophe. I mean, losing a video game is suddenly treated like a literal constitutional crisis. When you combine the power of anonymity with a hardcore desire to win, the pressure cooks. It sets the perfect stage for our countdown.
Moving into Section 2, ranks 10 through 7, the warm-up rounds.
Kicking off our top 10, it's wild to see how the flavor of hostility completely shifts depending on the genre. At rank 10, we have Rainbow Six Siege. The tactical gameplay here is fantastic, but the human element? Super unpredictable, characterized by incredibly frustrating team killing and some really hostile voice chat. At rank 9, the sports genre makes an appearance with EAFC, formerly FIFA. Here, it's all about controllers smashing rage and blaming this invisible scripting for every single loss, practically turning Ultimate Team players into conspiracy theorists. Then at rank 8, we hit the survival genre with Rust, known for sheer malice, where veterans raid beginners purely for kicks. And finally, rank 7 introduces that classic MMORPG elitism with World of Warcraft.
To really paint a picture of rank 8 Rust, think about this. Trusting anyone in this game is literally like leaving your wallet on a park bench with a note saying, "Please be kind." It's brutal. In this community, betrayals aren't just common, they're basically a core game mechanic. The entire social ecosystem is built on deep suspicion, endless trash talk, and the very real chance that the buddy you just spent 3 hours building a base with is totally going to lock you out of it.
And looking at rank 7, World of Warcraft, we see years of intense community habits creating this massive barrier to entry for raids. It's a phenomenon called gear score discrimination. Players have developed this habit of determining your entire worth and whether you even have the right to play the game with them based on a single quick equipment inspection. It builds this huge wall of elitism that can be so incredibly unwelcoming if you're just trying to learn the ropes.
Section 3, ranks 6 through 4, the sweaty mid-tier. Rank 6 brings us to the behemoth that is Counter-Strike. This massive legacy franchise is fundamentally plagued by a hardcore culture of vote kicks, smurfing, when high-level players make brand new accounts just to completely dominate beginners, and some seriously intense verbal abuse over the comms.
The analysis perfectly nails the dramatic, hyper-reactive vibe of the Counter-Strike community here. The stakes just feel so artificially high to these players that every missed shot apparently ruins someone else's entire bloodline. You can practically cut the tension with a knife in almost every single round.
Dropping in at rank 5 is Overwatch 2. It's a team-based hero shooter, meaning synergy's absolutely everything. But unfortunately, players here tend to spend way more energy assigning fault to one another than actually trying to capture the objective.
This community has literally weaponized the word difference, or diff for short. They use it to constantly shift the blame onto specific roles when a match goes south. Instead of fixing their strategy, the chat instantly floods with tank diff or healer diff. It's this highly efficient, highly toxic way of saying, "Hey, we lost, and it's 100% this specific person's fault. Definitely not mine."
At rank 4, we step into the asymmetrical horror game Dead by Daylight. Famous for its terrifying atmosphere, sure, but arguably more infamous for its wildly toxic post-game chat. All that insane tension from the horror gameplay spills right over into the lobby the second the match ends.
Looking at this impartially, the rivalry here is absolutely fascinating from a sociological perspective. On one side, you've got the survivors fiercely arguing about killers using tactics like tunneling or camping.
On the exact flip side, the killers are totally enraged by survivors using unbalanced perks and toxic teabagging. But here's the kicker. Both sides share the exact same paranoid belief that the developers secretly hate their specific role. It is a perfect, endless echo chamber of mutual outrage.
Section 4. The MOBA Danger Zone.
Taking the bronze medal at rank 3 is League of Legends. This game holds one of the most legendary reputations for player toxicity in all of gaming. Even after years and years of moderation efforts by the developers, the community is still deeply bogged down by intense ranked anxiety. Players intentionally feeding the enemy team, going AFK mid-match, and just endless, relentless flaming in the chat box.
Just edging it out at rank 2 is Dota 2. What pushes Dota slightly higher on the toxicity scale is its wildly high skill ceiling. It's a punishingly complex game, and let's just say the veteran community has absolutely zero patience for mistakes from anyone on their team.
Just picture this. You log in, trying to learn the mechanics, and instead of getting a helpful tip from a teammate, you get slapped with a 15-paragraph essay explaining exactly why you should uninstall the game. The learning curve isn't just steep mechanically, it's practically vertical and steeped in pure hostility.
Section 5. The Ultimate Toxic Boss.
All right, before we crown our #1 spot, we've got to shout out these honorable mentions because they are incredibly intense in their own right. We've got Valorant, where competitive pressure totally ruins team comms. Escape from Tarkov, which is just overflowing with elitism and cheating accusations. Rocket League, a game that somehow managed to turn the simple, automated what a save quick chat into highly effective psychological warfare. Then there's Mordhau, dealing with constant offensive chat and griefing, and Ark Survival Evolved, where the massive PvP servers are relentlessly hostile to anyone just trying to build a tiny foothold.
And taking the crown at rank 1 is Call of Duty, a massive, historic franchise that has practically become synonymous with toxic multiplayer culture across the entire globe. Between the open voice chat chaos, the constant barrage of trash talk, and the rapid-fire rage quitting, it boasts a legacy of cross-generational harassment that easily tops our charts today. Seriously, for a lot of players, surviving the screaming matches in the pre-game lobby is genuinely harder than surviving the actual firefights in the match. It's a culture that's been cultivated over decades of releases. Section 6. Game over. Final thoughts.
The data really spells it out for us. High stakes, hyper-competitive mechanics, and massive anonymous player bases are the perfect recipe for toxicity. But it's so easy to forget that the ranks and the loot are, at the end of the day, literally just pixels on a screen. Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder. If the stakes are ultimately just an illusion, why do we let the lobby dictate our enjoyment of the game? How can we shift our own mindset to make sure we're actually having fun when we log on? Next time you find yourself stuck in a toxic lobby, remember this countdown, take a deep breath, and hey, maybe just hit that mute button. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.